Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Today we have a special guest with us. We have guitarist Michael Gilbert of Flotsam and Jetsam. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on today.
So, Michael, you first joined Flotsam and Jetsam the first time around, back when you were a teenager. So tell us a little bit about getting that gig the first time around.
Well, my parents thought I was a Satan worshiper. I was like 16, 17 years old, something like that, and starting to really develop my brain into metal. And I heard about Flotsam and Jetsam, they were looking for another guitar player, so I went and did the audition for that. Sat down at a place called the Guitar Shop in Scottsdale, Arizona, with Newstead, and I ended up getting the job at 17, and the rest is history. My parents, they adapted to it, and then they were the most supportive parents you could possibly have for what I was doing. They backed me 100%. A little weird, for them, for the kid to be listening to Ozzy back in those days and Black Sabbath. They're like, "What is this crap coming out of this room? We need to bring a priest in." Oh my God.
So what were the early days like back then in your youth playing in this band?
There was no worries. I mean, it was so underground, and what we were doing, there was a very small group of people. It was very tight in every city. There was very few of us in every city around the country. But as we were growing, it was just really cool because you could do how bikers, when they pass each other on the highway, they do like a little wave type thing, because you're automatically in the club if you're on a bike. You know what I mean? They automatically welcome you. It's the same way with the metal community. You kind of give them a little nod. You got the denim jacket, no sleeves, with the Slayer patch on the back. You just kind of go, "Horns up to that, dude." Whatever. That chick, they know what's up. Right on. So instant camaraderie.
And what was like the music scene like in your area in general back then?
We were about 6 months behind what was going on in San Francisco, I guess. We weren't really locked on to what was going on in Los Angeles because they were making hair metal then, they were on something completely different. But the Bay Area, they were a little angrier up there. And I just kind of locked on to that. The first time I heard Hit the Lights, I remember sitting on a milk crate at the 7-Eleven that was close to my parents' house at the time, and we all used to just hang out there and drink big gulps and listen to music behind 7-Eleven. You can't do that now, but back then that was like our little meeting place for like 10 friends,
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy of mine brought his boombox one day, and he goes, "Check this out." It was Hit the Lights, and that changed my life forever. I listened to that and I said, "Man, I want to do that." I already was playing guitar, but I just kind of started going, "Okay, I see what's going on. This stuff's getting extreme."
And so, like, what was your first guitar? I mean, did you, like, start off on, like, a acoustic and then go to electric, or did you just, like, jump right in?
No, I was really fortunate. My mom, and I still have this guitar, too.
Oh, cool.
She had bought me this guitar that was from Kmart. It's an electric guitar. There was no name or anything on it, but it was $19.99. And she brought that thing home, and I played the hell out of it. And once they figured out that I was going to lock onto it, they ended up buying me a Gibson Marauder.
Wow.
Which unfortunately, it got stolen by some asshole. And that was my first real guitar, was that Gibson Marauder, and I still look for it on eBay today because I'm going to cut the guy to pieces that stole it.
It's your mission in life.
Oh yeah, for sure. But now I'm using Jacksons, and I used Gibsons for a long time. I still love Gibson. I was endorsed by them for a while, but now I'm kind of moving over to the Jackson stuff because I just kind of dig it. The X Series guitars are pretty cool.
And okay, so your band's gone through a lot of lineup changes and members leaving and coming back, and you yourself left for quite some time and rejoined around 2010. So why did you leave the band, and what made you decide to rejoin them?
I left the band manager. Money started going missing, and it seemed like the band just didn't have any control of what the hell was going on. So I kind of threw my hands up and said, you know what? I've got kids. I'm on my own with my kids, so I'm going to go do this for a little while, and that's that. And then they wanted me to do a show. I think it was in 2007. A show in Europe. Not Headbangers Ball. I always forget. Okay. Anyways, this show in Europe. It was a one-time show that I was going to do with them, and I ended up just staying in the band. So I was like, okay, that was fun. All right, I'm staying. So I started writing songs. Kelly came back, and that's when Ugly Noise came out.
And so your second time around, you haven't had the same troubles as the first time around, I'm assuming, since you've been there for 20 years now.
No, any signs of weirdness outside of the band, they get fired or they get sent on their way, because I'm not going to put up with that crap from people anymore.
No.
And a big chunk of my life, something that I really worked hard at, and that dude wasn't even a musician. He was just, he's just leeching.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore, Michael.
Yes.
And today, we're here to talk about your new album, The End of Chaos, coming out like in 2 days. Of course, by the time this airs, it'll be out so we can hear more of the album. The first album with your new drummer, Ken Mary. So, Michael, how would you describe Ken's playing on this album, and how is he fitting in with the band dynamic?
You know what? Ken Mary looks like Ken Mary when he's not behind the drums, but when he's sitting behind the set, he looks like that Flotsam piece that's on the cover. He is a freaking monster behind the drums. It's a pleasure to play with this guy. It's a job that I look forward to going to the rehearsals just because it feels good. It's effortless. There's no quarrels or anything like that. There's no arguments. Everybody in the band sees eye to eye on everything at this point. And having Ken in the band, his production experience, his resume is huge. We scored. It was like we won the lottery on the drummers right there. I don't know what I could say. He's just awesome.
Jason Bittner in there, I believe, and he's a tough act to follow, so when you had a new drummer in there, I was a little nervous till I heard the album.
Yeah, I was nervous when Jason called me and told me he was going to go over to Overkill. Of course you got to say, all right, they're East Coast boys. He fits in with those guys. It's a perfect gig for him. It's definitely a step up to another level, little different type of music, but he fits the part. So congrats to him. There's definitely no hard feelings, but in the back of my mind, I'm saying, oh man, who's going to follow that dude? That guy he's a monster too. But it literally took 15 seconds into the first song playing with Ken, and I was like, we're done. This is going to work.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that too, because the first song that I heard, off the new album with Ken on there, I was the same way. I was like, oh man, this guy's good. He's really good. So, Jason but kind of like this heaviness to the band, and the drums were just so loud in the last album, and this album is just great. Ken is just killing it on the whole thing, and I think people will like it. Now, would you say that this album is like one of your heaviest ones ever?
Yes, because mix-wise, you can hear everything, where in a lot of the past, there's been issues with a lot of mixes in the past. I'll be the first one to admit that. But, we're a guitar band, and there's guitars missing on some of the mixes in the previous records, so you're kind of going, what? But the last record and The End of Chaos that's coming out on Friday, which it'll be past Friday when people hear this, there's guitars on it like it's supposed to be. It's mixed perfectly, and I couldn't be more happy about it. It beats the hell out of like these major major label deadlines and stuff, that was what was killing us, because they're like, you got to turn the record in. We need the tapes, we need this. And it's like, well, it's not done. We're not done mixing it. Don't worry about it. It'll be fixed during mastering. And that's the biggest line of crap I've ever heard anybody say.
Oh, so did you do anything different than this time around? Learning from past mistakes with stuff like that?
Yeah, just to not take it from, if it's not right, don't release it. That, as far as production and studio stuff, we're all pretty schooled in that. And Ken, Steve, and I, between the three of us, we can definitely, do all of our recording and clean it up and make it perfect. So when we do send it out to mix, the mix guy's not going, what is this crap, and repairing a bunch of stuff that we screwed up. Well, he probably still does a little bit, but...
But when writing or recording the album, did you guys do anything differently than you've done on previous recordings?
No, not really, other than using Sonic Fish Studios, which is Ken's studio. That's the only thing we did different. We did the drums there, and we did a lot of the vocal parts. And AK is doing vocals at Steve's house and at my house as well. So that's kind of the beauty of technology right now. It makes it really easy for us. And the other thing is, like in the old days, I make it sound like we were driving covered wagons. But yeah, in the old days, we would have a certain amount of time. You go in the studio in the middle of the afternoon. You only have a couple hours to cut your track, and if you don't do it, then you're stressed. You get that. There's a ton of stress to get it done right. And here, I can get up in the middle of the night. If I'm inspired by something, I can hit the tracks and just be really comfortable and making sure they're perfect.
When you guys write now, how do you do that? I mean, do you all contribute in the writing process?
Generally, it spawns from Steve or I with a guitar riff, and we kind of do like a half-assed arrangement and send it over to AK. In this record, I think, and the last record, there was 30 songs or 40 songs that we picked from on the last record, and then like another 50 on this record, because Steve had 25, I had 25. And AK just kind of sifts through them, and whatever he thinks he could put like a real strong chorus and verse on, that's what he starts off with, and then he just works his way down from that. He takes what he's hearing, and that dude nailed it. He nailed it this time. I'm so proud of him. I didn't listen to all of his tracks when he was tracking, and so when I heard some of the test mixes, I was like, oh my God, this guy, I'm not just saying it because he's one of my best friends, but that dude keeps getting better and better and better. He's a maniac.
So I'm assuming that once you guys had it all written and it was all mixed and mastered and everything, and you heard it for the first time, were you all pretty pleased?
Oh, yeah. I put it, because it's really weird. When you send it off to mix, it comes back and it sounds a little different. You're like, wow, that's what we're supposed to sound like. Ooh, the raw track, I mean, it still sounds great with the raw tracks, but the mix just gives it that little volume and the little nuances that make it like big sounding. And listening to it the first time, I'm pretty stoked about it. I heard a little bit on the radio yesterday from one of the tracks, which that's always cool when you hear it on the radio too, and it still sounds good on the radio, so because there's the compression and stuff that happens, and yeah, it sounded pretty badass on the radio too, so I was like, all right.
That's a good thing. So why did you guys decide to go with a Demolitions Man for the first video off the album, and how does the song pertain to that video?
This is AFM Records right here. They have a real connection with us. We're confident with them enough to where, and the best way I can explain it is like you're kind of in a bubble when you're doing all this recording and stuff like that. You hear these songs 100 times. You spend hours and hours and hours, and you're in this bubble. You don't really know what it sounds like with a fresh ear. But we're trusting enough to AFM and have a good enough relationship with them to where we can be like, what do you guys think? What would your pick be? And so they came out and said, let's do Demolition Man. Let's try that one. So we had a guy, Jeremy Trimp, come out, and he wrote up the storyline and stuff like that, which is kind of similar to Firestarter back in the 80s. And, the guy wants to be Demolition Man and be able to control and kill people and rats and stuff with this little girl's power. But the little girl, she's got, she doesn't do it. She doesn't go along with it. She knows it's wrong. So pretty cool little storyline.
It was pretty cool, but I'm like, at first I was like, what's this have to do? But then I kind of liked it too, because the ending is great when the rat's her friend and the guy's on the other side, and
yes, get charbroiled.
It was great. So what are some of the subjects that the album deals with generally? I know you didn't write the lyrics, but
you know what? A lot of this stuff, I don't really ask AK about it. I kind of let him just do it. A lot of it's pretty deep inside of him, how he feels. But when I listen to what he's singing about, I think I listen to him as a fan, which is pretty cool when you can do that with your band. Just listen to your singer as a fan and try to relate in your own life, what he's singing about. Because that's what I do with other bands too. I may not know all the lyrics for some of the songs, or I might think I know them, but it gives you a vibe about something, and that's the power of music. If it can give you a vibe, some sort of emotion, if you can recall something, or you can connect and relate to the song, you don't have to know what the lyrics are about. Just if you can relate to it, and if you want to dive that far into it, that's cool too. But that's kind of the way that's my take on music.
So then it's not a concept album.
No. Yes, AK's mine. Nobody's going to be able to figure it out.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the cover art, what you wanted it to portray, the title of the album, all that.
Well, we had, again, this is the thing with AFM, because we had a different title for the album originally, and they came back to us and said, you guys, you know what, you're in your bubble, let's think of something else here, because we want it sounded like it was the end of the band, by the title of the record. It sounded like we were checking out. So we definitely didn't want to give that impression. So they came in and kind of, pep talked us about, like, what would sound good, because, like, we're in that bubble. So we came up with the End of Chaos, and it kind of worked with what has happened to the band over the years, all the chaos from the mid-'90s when heavy metal was falling apart and the Seattle grunge bands were coming into the scene, and it seemed like we lost a lot of metal fans, and it just wasn't the thing to be doing or listening to, and now it's got the resurgence, it's back, and it's the end of all that chaos.
And how would you say that Flotsam and Jetsam has, like, progressed as a band throughout the years?
Whoa. You know what? This sounds all cliche and everything like that, but we've definitely matured in our songwriting. I think that shows on this record. That's one of the things I'm really proud of is the arrangements of the songs and the strong choruses and the strong verses. You're able to sing along with it, and it's a memorable. Everything's memorable on it, as opposed to like No Place for Disgrace. Another one of my favorite records that we've done, but it was fast. It was really fast, almost too fast at sometimes. But we were on fire back then. We were hungry, and there was anger in us. So, well, there still is all that stuff now. It's just I think we're writing better songs, trying to convey that a little better.
Have you played any of the new stuff out live yet?
Nope, we've been doing rehearsals for it, and we're going to play at the Ultimate Jam at the NAMM show, so that'll already be over with when this comes out, sadly. But we're going to do a couple new songs then, and let some of the NAMM people hear it.
And are you going to be doing, like, any touring to follow it up? Do you know your schedule for the year yet, or some of it?
Yep, we are heading out in March. We're going to head out with Overkill, Destruction, and Meshiac in Europe. So Bittner was part of getting us on that tour. And of course, we've been longtime friends with Destruction for many, many years. So this is going to be, if we're not all in jail by the end of it, it should be a pretty kick-ass tour.
And are you involved in any other projects, or is Flotsam like your main thing?
Flotsam's my main thing. I do my own stuff too, but I haven't released anything yet. I'm actually thinking about doing that maybe next year, if possible. But for now, I got to dedicate myself to what's going on with Flotsam.
Because, I think that Flotsam, too, has been gaining more, I don't know if fans is the right word, but I guess it is, or listeners or whatever. Because I think when they first turned in, like, a lot of my audience likes, like, death metal and the old school death metal. But when I play Flotsam and Jetsam, they're, like, pleasantly surprised, They're like, well, this shit's really heavy. I'm like, yes, And I think, I just love the new album. I love your last one, too. But I don't know. There's just something about this new album. Was there anything making this new album that was, like, challenging for you guys?
Yeah, Steve. This guy, he's such an accomplished guitar player, and having him in the band, it's pushing me every day to be a better player myself. But when we're doing tracks and we're experimenting with our solos and stuff like that, we always send our parts back and forth, and he'll send me an MP3 and go, hey, what do you think about this solo? And I'll be like, motherfucker, now I got to step it up on my solos. So then it turns into a competition, a healthy, friendly competition, I rip them off sometimes too. Rip some of the riffs off.
They're band riffs. Well, it sounds really good. Even the guitars. I mean, it's like you said too. This mix is so good. You can hear everything in it. Nothing gets buried. Nothing sounds muddy. It just sounds really, really good. I was really, really impressed. And Michael, if people want to learn more about the band, what are like the best sites that they could go to do that?
Well, you can always Google search Flotsam and Jetsam, and our website will show up first right there, and you can read the bios and stuff on the bands about some of the history with us. You can find tour dates on there as well. Videos, you can search YouTube. We're all over. Don't watch the phone videos because those always sound like crap. I don't care what band it is, but the iPhone videos suck. So we're trying to get those taken down. And then Facebook and Instagram too. You can find us on there. You can do a search for that, and it's all over the place right now on Facebook and Instagram.
So, are you guys going to be doing some more videos off of this album?
At the moment, not yet. We haven't decided. We're probably going to, but we haven't decided on what song yet.
I was going to say maybe you could do some live ones too.
Yeah, you know what? We have some footage from Wacken from last year. Mm-hmm. that was pretty. It was pretty impressive how they filmed that show over there, and that's like the Super Bowl of metal concerts. If you go to Wacken, so that was. It was great. We were on our game that night too. So we played great. AK was singing, of course, freaking singing killer as always, and it was just a fun show. There was no hassles, no problems. A lot of times you do those festivals, you fly in and there's gear problems and stuff like that. But this one went perfectly for us, and the cameraman did a great job on it. So we're thinking about releasing that.
Well, they do those live feeds during the Wacken too. That's how I get to go to it. And you know what? They are amazing to the live feeds. They're like watching it on a movie or on TV. It was just amazing for a live feed. So I know what you're saying about when they were filming everybody, how it's amazing. The sound is amazing. The visuals are all amazing through everything. So that would be really cool if you guys could like release something like that for everybody.
Oh yeah, it's really cool because you get done playing and you go back to your dressing room, and then they have like a couple of people within 5 minutes. There's two people in your dressing room delivering a thumb drive to you, going, "Here's your show." And you're like, "Huh?" It's all edited and everything. You're like, "What the hell?"
And it was awesome, because when we all watched it, it was like we're watching a movie. It was really great. But anyways, hey, there you all go. Flotsam and Jetsam have a new album out January 18th on AFM Records called The End of Chaos. And Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show, and all the best to you and everything you guys got going on in the new year, and good luck with the new album.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on and letting me ramble on about The End of Chaos.